Hey, what's up? It's CJ here. Hope you guys are doing well. Today, I want to talk about the M50V and why I purchased it. I actually think this is the only camera in the market at this price point. I paid about $650 for it, and I was able to get a camera that is very capable of shooting video, very capable of shooting video projects. Also has C-Log 3 and many video features that don't come on a camera until you get above the price point of $1,000+. At $650, I think this camera is well worth it. First, let's talk about why I actually purchased the M50V. I was shooting a football game in the middle of the rain, and yeah, it happens. But this camera has crossed my mind for a little while, and I wanted to take a look at it and see if it was capable of being a camera that I could use for my business. And this is something that I'm getting to in a little bit more in the later videos, but I wanted to try this camera out because of the price point, of course, but also because I saw some really nice images come out of this camera. And I also just wanted to see, was it possible to find a camera at this price point to use in my business and to actually do some of my client work with. My conclusion of that, I'll talk about that in another video. To the M50V, who is this camera for? I think this camera is for filmmakers who are just getting started. If you're an up-and-coming filmmaker, or if you just want to dabble into filmmaking and start like creating your own films, this is the camera for you. There is no other camera on the market at this price point. And I know some people say, well, the lenses are super expensive and this and that, but there actually is some third-party lenses that are perfect for this camera, which is the Sigma, I believe it's the 18 to 50 millimeter lens. They also have the Sigma Art available, but there are two awesome lenses available to you from Sigma, which is a third party, which people were saying is not available. It is available. And also they're under the price point of $1,000. I believe one of them is about $500. So for under $1,000, you could have a lens and a video camera capable of shooting C-Log 3 and also capable of giving you 4K and 4K 60, which when I look in the market, there is no other camera that allows you to do those things and also have some of the video features that this camera has, which it has, pretty much dedicated video buttons for video creators. A lot of times people get involved in purchasing cameras and gear and equipment that doesn't suit their needs. Every type of film, every filmmaker has their type of film that they're trying to create, or have a client base that needs a certain type of product from them, or needs certain types of features from them. So there is no end all be all for everyone in one camera, but there are some that do come close. For me, this is a camera that helps you get into the market, helps you understand the things that you need, and helps you just get some good quality footage right away. So some of the pros is that all the features that it comes with this price point, having autofocus, having 4K, having 4K 60, and also having the ability to shoot C-Log and 10-bit is incredible. Now, it also has power delivery, so I can actually rig it up, where honestly, I was getting so many compliments of just my setup, and people didn't realize that I was just shooting with a $650 camera. Some of the cons about this camera is that there are some features that are just not available. One of the things that really bothers me is using the monitor. If the touchscreen and the monitor are set on together, you can't actually record at that point in time. You have to send the feed directly to the monitor or send the feed directly to flip out screen or the touchscreen. There are times where you're using a monitor that does not have touchscreen or does not have some of the functions, actually, touch to focus or things like that. And so you actually need that flip screen available to you while you're shooting a lot of times to be able to touch to focus and change your focus when you're shooting. So that is a con that I cannot really get over with this camera. Another con would be, in my opinion, the battery life. The battery life doesn't last very long, but it does allow you to use power delivery, which if you're going to put a V-mount battery in like a small rig V-mount battery or something like that, it doesn't increase the size of the camera too much that it's a difficult situation to be in. The last con would be, in my opinion, is just being a crop sensor and not really doing that well of a job in low light scenarios. There's a couple of scenarios where I definitely feel like I underexposed just a little bit, and it caused some artifacts to show up in the shadows and things when I had to or tried to bring it back. So that is a con, and I do feel like it does leave like a little bit less room for error. If you are a videographer, you do need to know your stuff. You do need to know what you're doing. You do need to pay attention a little bit more. You can't just kind of run and gun and shoot and expect everything to kind of, oh, I can just fix it in post. This is not that type of camera. It does really well in well-lit scenarios. It does really well in scenarios that are, pristine and perfect for the camera. This is a scenario that's great for the camera, and I'm shooting with it right now. And I think the footage that I get from this is outstanding for the price point that it is. Now, like, podcasts, scenarios like this, interviews where you have the opportunity to really like the scenario, those are great as well. But there are scenarios where I'm in interview situations where it is not ideal and it's not the perfect scenario, where you do have to really pay attention to what's going on with the camera. And it can be a little bit finicky at times when trying to make sure you're getting the best out of that camera, whereas opposed to other cameras that I've used, especially with Sony FX3, which I was able to use quite a bit lately, and I'll get into that in another video. But also, cameras like the EOS R, the R6 Mark II, and that leads me to my last point, which is why I feel like working with this camera has led me to understand that the camera that I need specifically would definitely be the R6 Mark III, and also possibly getting the C50 as well. But this camera I thought would be a great supplement for the R6 Mark III, but there are some shortcomings that I feel like me in a professional setting would not lean towards purchasing this camera for just actually client jobs. Now, there may be some client jobs that this will work perfectly for. That actually did use it on a client job recently, where I was able to shoot some B-roll for a keynote, and then I was able to shoot some interviews afterwards. And it performed decently, especially with me being the first time using that camera. But I also feel like there were some scenarios where it did not perform as well. And that could be just me kind of getting used to the camera. But that could also, be the camera itself just not being up to par for some of the scenarios that I'm placing it in. And so that's something to keep in mind. I do think that the camera for this price point is amazing and incredible. And I'm thinking about, and as far as business-wise goes, I'm thinking about like creating kits that I can send out with other videographers to expand and grow my business. And this is one of the cameras that I was looking at to see if this could actually do some of the things that I need to do. I think for the most part, it does 90% of the things that I needed to do in control scenarios and scenarios where I need to capture and where I need to capture and pick up B-roll. It is not a workhorse of a camera, though. It's not a camera that you can take in any scenario and know that it's going to be able to perform. I think that does fall into the R6 Mark III, and I do think that the R6 Mark III is a camera that not only performs well in photo scenarios, but also performs well in video scenarios. And once I get my hands on that, I'll be sure to make some videos on that. And I do feel like the C50, something that I've been looking at as well, I do feel like the C50 is definitely a video workhorse, but it doesn't kind of, cross over enough into those photo scenarios where it'll be something that I would recommend getting for someone like me. But in the end, I do think this camera is for someone, and I'll talk a little bit more in depth about the R50V. I'll do some kind of behind the scenes stuff. I'll show you the camera, I'll show you what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about the R50V or my next camera purchase, whatever that will be. And I'll see you all in the next video.